Merry Christmas, everyone. Today is a very special opportunity to listen to some audio recordings together. And as we go along with these audio recordings, these records through audio, we may get a chance to know about the truth for ourselves. As we go along with this listening, anyone and everyone is welcome to say, hey, stop, I have some questions, and we can go from there. These audio recording will be from a September 2024 Zoom meeting of Jim Newman on the concept or the thing of non-duality or the truth. So I hope we can all enjoy this Christmas miracle together and get benefit from it. Let's begin.
So I'll give a short introduction, sort of just covering the basics. So in essence, the theme of what we're talking about, there isn't actually anything to say. There isn't anything that needs to be said. This isn't about changing this. There seems to be two perspectives. One, the one that where there's nothing to be said, nothing needs to be said, because this is already. I gotta take out my earphones. This is already perfect. Not perfect in the way, not perfect for someone. It'll never be perfect, or not for any sort of length of time for a person. But it's a perfection that is not confined to understanding. Actually, everything we'll be talking about today isn't, in the end, isn't defined or limited to understanding. And within this perfection, there arises a sense that understanding is the currency, the only value to what's happening, a necessary, a need to understand what's happening. It's a sense of control, a sense of being the one with volition, the one who's going to make things happen. a need to do that, a need to make this, which is already perfect, but as it's not a perfection that can be understood, this sense of being a person feels like it's up to it to make it that way. The problem is that sense of being a person and that need to make this perfect necessarily ignores the perfection that is already. So it tries to create a separate reality of perfection, which is a hopeless task, really, because it lives in a dualistic reality, one of competing emotions and thoughts and ideas that just never stay still long enough to be a constant perfection. And all of that happens within what is already perfect. That separate sense, the sense of being a person, and the perfection it's looking for, is a personal perfection, a perfection of the way things I think it should be. So every separate person has a story about what this appearance is about, a personal story. And so all those personal stories are competing with every other personal story about what this appearance is about. And in the end, like I said in the beginning, there isn't any need to say anything because it is already whole. So that personal story will always fail in trying to bring about what is already. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All righty. So that's the introduction. Hi, Katerina.
Okay, I muted. Hi.
Hi.
Um, Thanks for having this. I seem to be stuck on the idea that this hasn't happened yet. So, okay, bear with me. I know there's nobody here to do anything or not do anything, but it seems like this, okay, the solution is still here. And
The solution.
the illusion,
Oh, the illusion.
yeah, the illusion of the appearance is still here.
Yeah.
So there is something that is saying it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Illusion to drop.
Yeah.
And the question is that you always say nothing really happens.
Yeah.
How can you say that?
And that includes the end of the illusion.
But there is a before.
It doesn't really happen. There isn't any one for the end of the illusion to happen too. It's only in that dream of things really happening does anything seem to really happen. And so the idea for the individual is that the individual would really drop or something would really happen. It doesn't. There isn't, in the end, there isn't actually an individual to drop.
So wasn't there a before and after in the timeline?
Well, there's an apparent before and after breakfast, but that's just apparent before and after breakfast. It's just nothing appearing as before and after breakfast. Nothing actually happened.
The idea that it hasn't happened yet
is a dream, is the same dream as there is someone or that it will happen.
It is believed in because of the feeling and the sense and the bodily feeling of the separation.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the sense is that things really happen. And one of the fundamental senses of being separate is that something has to happen that we're talking about.
So good on you, mate. But you cannot understand, and this is a very important point that we have to wrestle with. You cannot understand it. If you understand it, this is just an attachment to understanding and is not real, not correct, not safe, not reliable. No one can understand more or less about non duality or enlightenment. So, what you think that you understand about has nothing to do with this.
about something really happening, that something really happened to Jim, and so something could really happen to Katerina. And it doesn't.
But there's, okay, to stop believing that it hasn't happened, or to...
It doesn't matter which belief the individual holds on to itself. It's all part of that separate, illusory sense.
Is it a hindrance though? Like,
no, absolutely not. There isn't any goal. That's also part of the illusion, that the end of the individual is a goal. It's part of the dream of the individual, of the person trying to find perfection.
Yeah, trying to have what you have, what you don't
yeah,
have.
As if there was someone here that had something. And all I'm saying is there isn't anyone here that has anything, and there isn't anyone anywhere that has anything.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't anyone to have anything, and there isn't anything to have. The whole appearance is insubstantial, instantaneous.
But because that is not the way things are viewed from here, I feel, things are real, and
that's right.
Because there is the sense of me.
That's
I would very much like to disappear and see things like...
Oh, you wouldn't. Oh, you wouldn't.
Yeah, but isn't that semantics? Like, okay, I would...
No, it isn't semantics. It's because the individual can only imagine a continuation of itself. And we're talking about the end of it. It can't want the end of it. It isn't already. Nothing has to happen for there to be no individual.
Yeah.
But the individual wants something for itself, which is a continuum, a continuation of its want. In this meeting, I've been talking about perfection. So it's looking for a perfection for itself. And wanting to end it is the idea that that's where a perfection for itself will be found. The problem for that person is that everything that's happening is already that perfection. Even the sense of separation and looking for something is perfection. There just isn't anything else. What's longed for isn't to be found in the separate reality. It isn't to be found. It's actually the end of seeking, not as a conclusion, but as that there never was anything to be sought, never was anything separate. It's just this. It's already.
It's just this. It's always sending me into looking around and saying, okay, I have to be happy with this thing now.
I know this is misleading in the sense that I think to the person it sounds like a now.
Right now everything is fantastic and I should be happy with everything
that's
here.
Right.
So,
that's right. Yeah. And what's missed is that it's nothing.
So I'm actually trying to find a better and a different experience from what I'm having.
Yeah.
A different one, like being on some kind of a drug, for example. It's the same thing, but I'm still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Hi, Suma.
Hello, Jim.
Hi.
Just confirming that you're still not there. There's no Jim. I guess, how would I phrase this question? I mean, does it become lighter? I know there is no comparison, but everything else around seems too heavy. Like I'm not able to listen to people when they go on, possibly for like, am I going to get slower is the question. I mean, is that
Are you going to get slower?
Yeah, it's because I can't pay attention. It seems too much. Why are they worried about these things that people worry about? The me worries about there are no people.
Yeah. What we're talking about is just simply not about you.
Then what are we talking about? What have we been talking about?
That you is an illusion hiding that this is already perfect.
Yeah, but I didn't choose it. I know I've told you this before.
There isn't a you.
So I have no say. The day I'll not be there. I'll not be there to see it. Although I'm not there already.
That's right.
That just seems mind-boggling. There's no way I can ever get there, and I so badly want to get there.
But you can't get there because there isn't any there. It's all this. There isn't. It's not separate.
That's a damn good illusion. I don't know who created what created. I don't know what this is, but this just is. Every time I think I'm closer, possibly, and apparently I'm not.
No, of course not. There isn't a closer to everything.
Okay, this last question is I'm not sure how I'm going to phrase it. Let's say you were listening, I mean, when there was a Jim there and Jim was listening to Tony, did it ever cross your mind that maybe Tony had a very perceptual, like a unique experience, and maybe it's not true for everyone? Is that doubt playing on
all
your mind?
sorts of ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, of course.
You're sure there's nobody there?
Well, there isn't anyone anywhere. So, welcome. Thanks for coming.
As we go through this Christmas gift of listening, hey, you're welcome to say stop at any time to come and grow at any time and ask questions that you might have about what we're listening to and if there's any point of confusion about it. This is a Christmas celebration, so we can have a sense of warmth and familialness together as we unpack the gift of nothingness with these audio records from Jim Newman, who's an interesting teacher of non-duality or true nature, a lot of different names for it, as the Buddha is said to have been. And we can listen, we can be open to it, we can celebrate Christmas in the Buddhist way with this practice of deep listening with mindfulness and detachment. And if there is any attachment point that comes up, please feel free to share that and ask a question if you have one.
It's an interesting topic that we're talking about. It's not actually a thing. It's really all we're saying is this is everything. And that's the beginning and end of it. There is nothing to say about it. There's no story that makes this happen. There isn't anything that this is coming out of or this is becoming. It's already all of it. This, like what's happening, it's already all of it. It's done. It's a done deal. It's complete and fulfilled as itself, not as a feeling, but as itself. And I guess another part of what we're talking about is that isn't about you. There isn't a you that will ever recognize what's just been said. There's an experience of me or I am, which might hear what's being said and go, I want to know that, or that sounds good, or I don't understand that. I need to become something for that to be real for me. And that is a dream. I mean an illusion. It's an illusion, like it's not happening. So if that does seem to be, that will say something needs to happen for that to stop happening. That's the illusion. It never stops happening. That experience that I am, that experience that this is happening to me, never stops happening. What might happen is the revelation it never happened. That this is only complete already. And really, that's all there is. That's all I've got to say.
in this perspective, no relationship
No.
and no connection.
No. How could you be connected with what's not separate?
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah.
If it is happening after 5 minutes also, finished. I just curious. Okay, everything is just happening. It's very clear.
Yeah.
But and no judgment.
Well, there's judgment.
There is.
Yeah. But there's two sorts of kinds of judgment. So there's a judgment of whether food tastes good or not.
Okay.
And then there's the personal judgment, which comes from the experience that the appearance has meaning and purpose, which is my story about how I'm going to find what I think is missing. So in that story, you'll find like spiritual people who say that eating brown rice is really good. And if you don't eat brown rice, then you're not as good as me. Or that meditation is really good. And so if you don't meditate, you're not as good as me. Or my guru is better than your guru. And so if you go to the wrong guru, you're not as good as me. That personal judgment, that collapses. But there's still good food and not so good food.
And how is that possible? Somebody who is free has a partner who doesn't care this kind of things, for example.
Yeah.
How, okay, nobody handles this, of course, because you are not there to handle the difference or something.
Yeah.
But, the person has his purpose to living it together, for example, the same
Yeah.
interesting or
Yeah.
behavior or same mind level or something. This is the exception or something.
Yeah.
And here is how is it happening? I know nothing happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how is someone free? How?
It seems like it would be very challenging for the person who still experiences themselves as an individual
Yeah.
to be with someone who where there's no individual. Because the individual is in relationship. It's always in relationship, and it's always compromising and making deals with others in relationship.
I never done this, so I don't know this.
Yeah. Yeah, of course not. Yeah. And when there's no one left, there's no need to make deals anymore. And so there might be, if one of the two, there's still someone there, they'll be trying to make deals with somebody who's not going to make deals. And that can be very challenging.
Some kind of gain from one part.
Yeah, yeah.
So but it is difficult to who is person.
Yeah, probably.
But who is free is not difficult, nothing happening, and that's all, because nobody there.
Well, there's no relationship.
Okay.
Yeah. But there isn't any relationship already.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
Just headache, actually. I asked, here is a frog, but nobody has headache. Just headache.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what we're talking about is actually really simple. It's so simple that it's too simple to be understood. It's immediate. What we're saying is that all there is immediacy. So this is everything. And being everything, that means that it has no limits, friction. It's whatever arises. And that could be anything. And in that sense, this is everything, meaning it has no need to be what it is. So there's having no need, there's no way to work it out. There's no way actually to make sense of it. And within this appearance that has no need and no sense, there arises an experience of separation. The experience I am, or me, or I am real, I am here. That experience brings with it the experience of meaning and purpose. The experience that the appearance is going somewhere, that it has an intention, that this isn't it, and it could be found somewhere else. And that's my job, to go find what it is through my free will and choice. That arises in this. And the suggestion is that is illusory. Like illusory. To the point that it's actually not happening. It happens within the dream of itself, that this has meaning and purpose, but the end of that dream doesn't leave anybody left that knows it was a dream. There's just, the dream ends and nobody wakes up.
We also have some documents here. Just don't touch fire, and it won't burn you. Right now, just have none of the 10 states of impure mind: greedy mind, lustful mind, defiled mind, angry mind, clinging mind, dwelling mind, dependent mind, attached mind, grasping mind, longing mind. For each of these states, there are the 3 stages: detachment, not dwelling on attachment, not being conscious of not dwelling; Then all your awareness and activity, transcendent or conventional, all movement and action, speech, silence, crying, and laughing, are all enlightened wisdom. Question. This is not a matter of any kind of philosophy. So, as much as you are putting together different pieces of different philosophies, you won't have any relationship to this. Question. What is the essential method for sudden enlightenment in the great vehicle? Answer. First, stop focusing on objects. Set aside all concerns. Don't bring anything to mind, whether good or bad, mundane or transcendental. Do not engage in thoughts. Let go of body and mind. Set them free. Set them free to be as they already are. Allow the body and allow the mind to be as they already are, freely. With mind like wood or stone, not talking about anything, not ruminating on anything, the ground of mind becomes like space, wherein the sun of wisdom naturally appears. It is as though the clouds had opened and the sun emerged. Just put an end to all bondage to objects, and feelings of greed, hostility, craving, defilement, and purity all come to an end. And that is at that time and at this time. And because that time is over there, it's not reliable, not for sure, and illusory. And this time also is, in a sense, the over there of here. So it's the same problem. So just put an end to all bondage to objects and feelings of greed, hostility, craving, defilement, and purity all come to an end. Just put an end to all bondage to objects, mental objects or material objects, and feelings of greed, hostility, craving, defilement, and purity all come to an end, because sometimes we have, there's an appearance of a feeling of purity, or there's an appearance of a feeling of defilement or dirtiness inside of ourselves, physically or mentally, right? The body and the mind can be dirty. The body and the mind can be pure and clean. But the truth is not a thing, is nothing. Unmoved in the face of desires and influences, not choked up by what is seen, heard, noticed, or perceived, not confused by anything, naturally endowed with all virtues and the inconceivable use of all spiritual powers, this is someone who is free. This is saying that the basis of all spiritual powers is freedom, and to be unmoved in the face of desires and influences, and not choked up by what is seen, what is heard, what is noticed or perceived, not confused by anything. This is natural endowment with all virtue and inconceivable use of spiritual powers. To have a mind that is neither stilled nor disturbed in the presence of all things in the environment, neither concentrated nor distracted, passing through all sound and form without lingering or obstruction, is called being a wayfarer, someone who is in the way, on the way. Not initiating good or evil, right or wrong, not clinging to anything, not rejecting anything, is called being a member of the great vehicle. Not initiating good or evil, right or wrong, not clinging to anything, not rejecting anything, is called being a member of the great vehicle at this time or at that time. And at this time and at that time, it's kind of your body, mind in space on a boat that's continuously moving. So if you say at this time, your body is now not in the way or not in the movement of that boat, right? So you're going to drop into the ocean of attachment and confusion if you fixate on this time or that time. So it's not a matter of time, actually. Not bound by any good or evil, emptiness or existence, pollution or purity, action or inaction, mundane or transcendental, virtue or knowledge is called enlightened wisdom. And this is enlightened wisdom versus nihilism because we can still say that this is a good food, that's a bad food. Once affirmation and negation, like and dislike, approval and disapproval, all various opinions and feelings come to an end and cannot bind you, then you are free wherever you may be. This is called a bodhisattva at the moment of inspiration, immediately ascending to the stage of Buddha. Next question. How can one attain a mind like wood or stone in the presence of all situations? Answer. Things have never spoken of emptiness themselves, nor do they speak of form themselves, and they do not speak of right, wrong, pollution, or purity, nor is there a mind that binds and fetters people. It is just because people themselves create vain and arbitrary attachments that they produce so many kinds of interpretation, conceive so many kinds of opinion, and give rise to so many various cravings and fears. Just understand that things don't happen on their own. They all come about from one's own mental impulse of imagination, mistakenly clinging to appearances. If you know that mind and objects fundamentally do not contact each other, you will be set free on the spot. Everything is in a state of peace right where it is. This very place is the site of enlightenment. Inherent nature or original nature or true nature or the way that it is cannot be named. Originally, it is not mundane or sacred, not polluted or pure. Neither is it empty or existent, nor is it good or bad. When concerned with impure things, it is called the two vehicles of divinity and humanity. When the mind concerned with purity and impurity is finished, it no longer dwells in bondage or liberation. It has no mindfulness of action or inaction, bondage or liberation. Then, even though within birth and death that mind is free. Ultimately, it does not commingle with all the vanities, the empty illusions, passions, forms, sensations, perceptions, conceptions, habits, consciousness, life and death, or senses and their objects. Transcendent, without abode, nothing at all constrains it. It goes and comes through birth and death as through an open door. When those who are studying the way come in contact with various kinds of pain or pleasure, with things agreeable or disagreeable, their minds are not wearied. They do not think of fame, profit, clothing, or food at all. They do not long for the benefits of merit and are not frustrated by the things of the world. Nothing is dear to them, nothing is beloved. They are even-minded in pain and pleasure. With simple clothing to keep off the cold, simple food to sustain life, be unbending and intent, as though stupid, as though deaf and mute. Then you will have some fulfillment. If you intentionally study a lot of knowledge and interpretation, seeking merit and seeking knowledge, this is all birth and death. It is of no benefit to the in relation to inner reality. On the contrary, blown up and down by the winds of understanding, you will return to the sea of birth and death. A Buddha is one who does not seek. Seek this, and you turn away. The principle is the principle of not seeking. Seek it, and you lose it. If you cling to not seeking, this is still the same as seeking. If you cling to inaction, this is the same as action. Therefore, the diamond scripture says, do not grasp the teaching, do not grasp anything other than the teaching, do not grasp what is not contrary to the teaching. It also says, the truth found by those who realize verity has no reality or unreality. If you are able to spend your whole life with a mind like wood or stone, then you will not be buoyed up and submerged by forms, sensations, perceptions, conceptions, or consciousness, objects of sense or desire, or external influences. Then the cause of birth and death is cut off, and you are free to go or stay, unimpeded by any causes or effects of action, not under the control of any impulses. Then to make a cause of causeless bondage, to share concerns as a benefactor, to respond to all creatures with an unattached heart, to open all fetters with unimpeded wisdom. This is called giving medicine according to the disease. Question. Monks today, having received the precepts, are clean and pure in behavior and speech, already imbued with all the standards. Do they attain liberation or not? Answer. A little bit of liberation, but they have not yet attained liberation of mind and liberation in all situations. Question. What is liberation of mind and liberation in all situations? Answer. Don't seek Buddha. Don't seek the Dharma. Don't seek the Sangha, and so on. Don't seek virtue and knowledge, intellectual understanding, and so on. When feelings of pollution and purity are ended, still don't hold on to this non-seeking and consider it right. Do not dwell at the point of ending. Do not long for heavens or fear hells. When you are not obstructed by bondage or freedom, then this is called liberation of mind and liberation in all situations. You should not say you have a bit of discipline, purity of conduct, speech, and mind, and immediately consider that enough. You don't know that innumerable doors of discipline, concentration, wisdom, and liberation, free from impulse, have never been involved with anything at all. Work hard. Henceforth, you must get a grip and investigate vigorously. Don't wait until your ears go deaf, your eyes grow dim, your face gets wrinkled, and your hair turns white. When the pains of old age overtake your body, sadness and affection enshroud you. Your eyes flow with tears, and there is fear and dread in your heart. Without anything to rely on at all, you don't know where you're going. At this time, you won't be able to coordinate your hands and feet. Even if you have merit, knowledge, name and fame, profit and support, none of them will save you. Because your mind's wisdom is not yet opened, you only think of objects. You do not know how to look back, and you don't see the way of enlightenment. All the good and bad actions you are involved in during your whole lifetime will appear before you. You may be glad, you may be afraid. The constitutions of various states of being will appear before you all at once, all arrayed with houses, boats, cars, and brilliant shining light. Everything is what is manifest of greed and craving of your own mind. All bad visions turn into beautiful visions, but according to the gross weight of greed and craving, compelled by your conditioned consciousness, you experience life accompanied by attachments with no freedom at all. It is entirely uncertain how you'll turn out. Question: how is it possible to realize a share of freedom? Right now you have it if you have it. Otherwise, if there is no grasping or rejection in your feelings in face of desires and the ups and downs of life, when feelings of possessiveness, jealousy, greed, and craving, of ego and possession all come to an end, pollution and purity are both forgotten. You will be like the sun or the moon in the sky, shining independently. When mind and mental conditions are like earth, wood, or stone, moment to moment, as focused as saving one's head from burning, or like a massive elephant in rut crossing a river, cutting off the flow as it passes, eliminating doubt and error, then neither hell nor heaven can contain this person. Okay, any questions? So the matter is truly see-through. Birth and death, suffering and enlightenment are a matter of transparency. There's no effort required to see through what is transparent. The nature of it is transparent, and seeing through is just a matter of seeing. Inasmuch as we lead others along, we must also point out the transparency of being led and leading, and the transparency of the notion of going along, getting somewhere, being someone, doing something that is beyond any moment. If this moment is anything, it is beyondness. Desires and fears are unacceptable. We must transform desires and fears to preferences. There may be a strong preference for this or that, but your freedom should never rely on this or that, nor should freedom ever rely on you. Freedom is not about you or me or anyone or anything. Reality is what you think. Don't think, and there is no reality to speak of. Or at least the reality that can be spoken of won't apply to you. Won't apply to your experience, because your experience will be unspeakable, unknowable, and not based in objects or things or people or places or situations. It is obscene to be someone. It is irrelevant to do something. Everything and everyone we should be able to disregard, including ourselves, including the someone that we call you or that I call me. And also, we should know how to disregard the disregarding itself. Not to rely on any aspect of someone being something, somewhere. We should learn how to rely on not relying on anything. More and more and continuously. It is Christmas after all. When it is brought up, if you don't pay attention, you'll miss it. If you try to think of it, when will you ever become enlightened? The one road beyond is ranged downwind. What is not transmitted by the 1,000 sages is put in one place. Look, look, Great Master Yun Men has come. One statement includes three statements. The statement covering sky and earth, the statement cutting off all flows, and the statement going along with the waves are set forth before you all at once. Seeing that you don't understand, I will make a medicine for a dead horse. Even so, I cannot fool you. If within the three statements or outside the three statements you get right up and go on in direct confrontation, colliding beyond 3,000 miles, then you will see fire burst out in water. You are a greatly liberated person, all the way up and all the way down. Where are there any more unresolved issues? But you must actually arrive at this state to attain it. When the ancients set out a device and showed a state, when it was steep, it was simply steep. When it was extraordinary, it was simply extraordinary. Whether Buddhas or patriarchs, it was for the same basic reason. Past and present, there is no different goal. To tell you the truth, for your own part, what do you lack? It is just false ideas continued forever and ever, turning away from enlightenment to get involved in objects, gradually deepening over time, unable to look back, that makes you stuck and confused, unable to be free. As soon as you are told of the extraordinary great matter in yourself, it seems uncertain. Even if countless teachings of hundreds of thousands of ways are presented to you, it just becomes idle talk. Or else you rouse your mind, stir thoughts, and deliberate, defining host and guest, talking about transcendence and accommodation, helping people and not helping people, accuracy and inaccuracy. When you get to the point where you can't figure and can't make comparisons, you drift into nothingness and say the perennial matter is just an iron hammerhead with no hole. Just going on understanding in this way, wherever you go, you randomly present a sack of ignorance and don't accept anyone's determination of what is right. What you don't know in particular is that this thing is originally present and need not be sought outside. Whatever you get by seeking is the livelihood of ghosts. Master Deshan said, "Just have no mind in things and no things in mind. Then you will be empty and spiritual, peaceful and sublime. Any talk is self-deception. Why? The slightest fastening of thought on anything is an active cause of animality, ghosthood, or hell. A momentary arousal of feelings is a chain for myriad eons. The terms holy and ordinary are both empty sounds. Superior and inferior appearances are all illusory forms. If you want to seek them, can you be unburdened? Even if you reject them, they are still a lot of trouble. Ultimately, there is no benefit. This talk is a re-emergence of Shakyamuni Buddha. His 3 incalculable eons of intensive practice leading up to his going into the Himalaya mountains and his coming to the deer park and turning the wheel of the unexcelled teaching, expounding the 12-part teachings of the 3 vehicles, are not beyond the likes of this. Suppose nothing at all is set up. All process is gone. Mind, Buddha, sentient beings, objects, and knowledge all disappear. Does that still amount to self-deception? At this point, you must be one who cuts through nails and shears iron, pays no attention to danger or destruction, lets go over a sheer cliff, and is not concerned with gain or loss. Then you can put forth a device in a state of effortless great liberation, the so-called indestructible cage and thorn ball, enabling everyone on earth to get out of the cage and swallow the thorn ball, using them freely. Only then can you be called extraordinary. When you can go hand in hand with a succession of masters since ancient times in this school, then you have some accord. Have you not seen how Yuan Wu was commended by his colleagues in the lecture halls before he left Shu? And after leaving Shu, he plumbed the depths wherever he went. First he called on Master Zenru Zei. He was about to present his view when Zei said, "Stop for now." He went back the next day and Zei said, "In olden times a monk asked Muzo, 'I don't ask about using a burden to remove a burden. What about removing a burden without removing a burden?' Muzo said, 'Yesterday I planted eggplants. Today I'm planting winter melon.' Meditate on this." Yuan Wu then spent several months in silence, then suddenly had an insight. He told Zhe about it, and Zhe pressed him on it. Yuan Wu said, "The superintendent of hospitality is at the gate. The cook is in the kitchen." Zhe nodded in agreement. "See how, when our predecessors came forth to clarify this matter, they didn't take it easy at all. First, they stood atop the heads of Buddhas and patriarchs. Then they laid down their lives to go to others for certainty. How can this be seen? The moment they were sure in truth, they put it into actual practice." So, dear Sangha, dear friends, dear community, dear well-minded practitioners and advisors, supporters, caretakers, may we be successful in our wishes, and may we go on from a place of truth without seeking anything at all.